I woke up in Asheville around 7:30, which was incredibly early for a town that doesn't seem to have any activity until 10 a.m. I walked out of my hotel room to this beautiful view. Okay, it looks prettier in person. There are mountains. Anyways, I went downstairs to meet my parents to have breakfast at this great little place called the Green Sage Cafe. We walked there because everyone in Asheville walks pretty much everywhere. It's nice because you get exercise, you don't have to worry about parking, and if you're lucky, you run into quirky garden places like this. We went by an art festival, but they weren't set up yet. Everything in Asheville starts later in the day than you'd expect. I got bored, so I walked through Pack Square Park. It was really beautiful that early, and no one was around. It made me feel pensive, and I thought about why I loved Asheville, with its liberal attitude and local food, gorgeous mountains, the kind hippie hobos playing ukulele in the street. Even here, in a park I'd never visited, I didn't feel like a tourist, more like I was visiting a friend's house for the first time. I was welcome, and everything from restaurants to stores to this park was introduced to me in a way that said, "Here, I love this, and I want you to love it too." I headed to Malaprops, the bookstore, but not before playing with my camera settings and watching as my shadow blended in with trees and emerged on the other side just as intact as before. After buying some books, I hung out in Malaprops for a while, drinking a blackberry soda, reading their newsletter, and spending time with my mother, because that's what family vacations are for. I went back to the hotel to get ready for the barn wedding I would be attending that night. It was at a beautiful place up in the Asheville Mountains, and I spent half my time there, circling around, looking at the majestic countryside I wish I lived in. We had some downtime before the wedding, so I went and petted the retired thoroughbreds nearby. The wedding itself was incredible. I didn't film it out of respect, but think of it like this barn. Rustic, back to nature, yet so elegant and heartfelt. Afterwards, I went with my friend Sarah, daughter of the bride, to feed their llama and see the sheep. That night, I went to the French Broad Chocolate Lounge with my mother and had an incredibly tiny and delicious dark chocolate liquid truffle. The next morning, I dragged my parents to the West North Carolina Nature Center because no matter where we go, I will find some kind of zoo or animal center to visit. I saw some great things, like this odd but rather creative size representation of the various wolves, foxes, and other canids they had on exhibit. I also saw some sleepy wolves and some not so sleepy coyotes. The place was an interesting blend of typical nature center and zoo-like exhibits, like the petting zoo where I played with this goat, and it tried to eat my hair. The Nature Center was our last stop in Asheville, and as I rode back through the mountains, I read To Kill a Mockingbird for the first time. Reading that book after leaving a liberal place like Asheville made me think a lot about whether conservatism and the Southern way are really linked. What about the attitude of the South makes so many people fall on the right side of the political spectrum? Even though Asheville leaned to the left with its tree-hugging ways, the values it held were very Southern in nature, like self-sufficiency and supporting local people, like farmers. Asheville was a place nearly beyond politics, yet still felt like a Southern escape for those of us trapped in conservative towns. I wonder if places like Asheville that are filled with diversity, local food, yet with a love of the mountains, for farms, for Southern hospitality, I wonder if they are the future of the South, or if instead our future still looks like something where Scout grew up, places full of hate, fear, and rare integrity. Beyond politics, I just hope that the South can be somewhere I want to stay, because I know Asheville already is.